The history of heel support in shoes can essentially be described in this article that I have on the screen here. In a nutshell, cultures have been doing sorts of orthotics for a long time. However, the mainstream use of heel support really started becoming a thing in the early 1900s. Originally, before then, heel support on shoes was used for horses, but then during the 1910s, 20s, and 30s, specifically like here, it basically became mainstream to start putting heel support in everyday shoes. Fast forward to the 60s and 70s, and you start seeing heel support in athletic shoes. Specifically, Nike was one of the main advertisers of heel support in running shoes. Today, we're going to be talking about why flat shoes with a wider toe box prevents injuries in most cases. We're going to be going over injuries related to running, and then weightlifting, and then we're going to be doing a conclusion. Alright, so this study basically concludes that, well, injury rates are the same, however, the location of the injuries are different. Basically, the barefoot group, obviously they had actual injuries to their skin. These were barefoot runners specifically. But basically they got a lot of like calf injuries. That's going to be like your main issue with running barefoot. Calf injuries, a lot of like tendon stuff. However, I will say this. However, lower number of knee and hip injuries in the barefoot group. Additionally, barefoot runners reported less plantar fasciitis than the normal shoe group. So, okay, basically, the main thing, the main issue with the main like spiel with barefoot running goes as follows. You basically, there's obviously a pretty big transition period, which is where you're going to get the most injured, assuming you've worn shoes. But what's realistically going to happen is that you have to be really careful of your calves. However, the thing is when you have like these running shoes, your knees are just getting pounded, like, because you're heel striking. All right, because I've showed you before, most runners heel strike. Obviously, your joints get used to that over time, but that's still a lot of pressure. And like how I said earlier, cartilage doesn't grow back. Okay, so it's kind of like pick your poison for barefoot running, at least. It's one of those things of where, like, you either can run barefoot, you have more muscle activation because you have less support, and you have a greater risk of calves, tendon injuries, Achilles issues, XYZ. Or you have running shoes where you basically where you have a lot of knee issues, hip issues, as seen here. Well, no, it's saying that there's lower numbers in the barefoot group, therefore, like, there's higher numbers with normal shoes. I just want to make that clear. Getting back to the point. With running normally, you face a lot of these issues of like knee, joint impacts, more cartilage just wears out over time, and then you get like shin issues because it's just bone on bone. Like, it's just like your skeleton is absorbing the impact versus your muscles. Like, that's the biggest takeaway. And the injuries In my opinion, I think the barefoot one could theoretically be better because you're sacrificing your calves instead of your joints, if that makes sense. And like your tendons and Achilles. And while tendons do have a long period of healing, they can heal. But like your cartilage, you can't that's never going to heal, all right? That's always going to go away.